Welcome to JackHorney.com show.
Again, this runs totally against all legal expertise. The very reason licences are reviewed every single year is to prevent rubber stamping. What's more, the section of the draft policy that talks about clubs not being relicensed if they are poorly managed or negatively impacting the community has become meaningless, because the Council is rubber stamping clubs even after countless serious breaches, even after clubs have taken the Council to court for trying to impose its own policy, even when judges have ruled that the clubs themselves are changing the local area for the worse. The draft policy also breaches equality law, and I should point out that Sheffield City Council has lost 2 court cases for breaching equality law and its pro-strict club industry stance. This was partly because of poor consultation and partly for ignoring evidence of harm of the industry. The Camden draft does not even talk about consulting with women's rights groups or women's support groups, although it does say it's going to consult with those with a vested interest in the strip industry. The Council has also consistently ignored women's groups who have been telling them for months of the harm of the strip trade. But we've been told at every licence hearing that we cannot talk about how the industry as a whole operates. But that was precisely one of the reasons Sheffield City Council lost its court case. Ironically, today we've been told that we cannot talk about the specifics of Camden's own strip clubs, of which there's already a very long list of rule breaches, sexual contact and pimping. How can it be that the specifics about what is actually going on in your clubs is not relevant to your licensing policy for these clubs? Ignoring the rule breaches that are occurring in the entire industry, and perhaps specifically in your clubs, again puts you at risk of legal challenge, because it makes your equality impact assessment meaningless, and all the regulations you have written into your policy meaningless. Because the truth is you cannot mitigate harm to performers, you cannot control this industry, you cannot regulate it. Abuse has now been recorded in over 50 clubs UK-wide, showing sexual contact is the norm in every single club, as is constant harassment of performers. Often much more serious abuse has been recorded. 50 clubs, that is 1/3 of the entire UK strip trade. This has been exposed yet again in just the last few weeks at Sheffield Spearmint Rhino. Undercover investigators showed sexual contact there that was so extreme that it even included women having sex with each other. But your draft policy believes it can prevent all this through things like secret spot checks. But former lap dancers have testified for years that clubs always know when these supposed secret checks are being carried out. Sheffield Spearmint Rhino, it always passed its secret spot checks with flying colours year after year. But when genuine secret spot checks are carried out by undercover investigators, prostitution is basically found. Your draft policy believes it can ensure clubs are well run from the CCTV footage they give you. But countless former lap dancers have testified for years that they always know when where the blind spots are. They're often pointed out to them by the clubs. The CCTV from Sheffield Spearmint Rhino are always squeaky clean. The reality, prostitution. Spot checks and CCTV are supposed to be reliable, objective evidence that rules aren't being broken, but even they are clearly meaningless. All the other evidence that councils use is say-so from strip club operators and performers, or even more meaningless measures like security or house mums, all hired by the clubs themselves, or things like dancer welfare statements. So I put it to Camden, your quality impact assessment and regulatory measures are meaningless. I guarantee you that sexual contact, and possibly a great deal more, is happening in every single one of your clubs. Not to mention that every club is acting as a visa for the wider sex industry. So in order to prevent sexual exploitation and avoid costly legal challenges, I ask you to rewrite this biased and unlawful draft with consultation with women's groups and acknowledging the reality of the industry and the impossibility of regulating it, and to introduce a genuine zero policy with no clubs, no exemptions for existing clubs, and stop licensing sexual exploitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and that was 5 minutes exactly. Right, move on to the Women's Equality Party. I'll let you know when the 2.5 minutes is up and you can swap between you.
Great, thank you.